Now I want to show you how the assembly looks with the sump inside of the bucket and the hose is attached. And you can see the hose coming out of the bucket, coming all the way around. It goes up and that will pump the water all the way up to the top and around the top. Now this top tubing, I've got slots cut into that top tubing and the slots are against the wall. Like I said, I have this thin plastic up here. This thin plastic is held on by straps over the top of the tubing, and that's what keeps the water up against the wall so it doesn't spray out and hit your work. So the next thing is the work table. So you have to have a support in there to put your work on. So what I did is I made out of half-inch PVC pipe a little stand. It's got 4 legs that fits right inside of the tank that the work table sits on. And so you can see there's elbows at the 4 corners for the legs going down. The length of the legs I have on there are 17 inches. It's about 18 inches to the top of this table. The dimensions for cutting, where to cut the opening, how big to cut it, are going to be included in this. So then this is made so it just fits tight inside of the booth. Now I want to show you how that fits in the booth. So there is that table, and it's wedged in tight so it doesn't wiggle. It's touching on all 4 sides. In fact, I have to do just a little bit of a pushing and stretching the tank to get it in there. Just a little bit. But it's setting in there solid, and it will not wiggle around, so your work table has got a solid surface to lay on. So the work surface is some 1/4-inch plexiglass right here, and I have that 1/4-inch plexiglass screwed to 1.5 PVC pipe. This PVC pipe is open in the back. There's 5 tubes that are open, and this goes in the back of the booth, and this is what sucks the air out. And it's sucked out through this point right here. That takes the hose. So this is the front of it. That into the tubes, the 5 tubes, is the back. So what that does is that just slides on top of the work table we just put in. And it is tight against the walls right here so it doesn't wiggle. And it's right up against the back of the booth, and it extends out in front about that far. So it gives you a little bit more working area. You can put your bucket here of water. Your turntable sits in the inside, turns here, your water is here for your sponge to clean the bottom and so forth. So the hose gets hooked on here. What I did is it didn't match up perfect with my shop vac. That's what I used to evacuate the air. And so I just took some of that painter's tape, that blue tape that they use for masking, and I just wrapped a couple wraps around there so the hose fits right on there. It's not really a tight fit, it slides on and off, and that's where I hook up the shop vac to. We'll talk more about the shop vac and that, but that sucks the air out. So what you've got is you've got one opening here because we closed up the top, and all the air that you're sucking out has to come through this opening. So now when you're spraying glazes, you're spraying air into the booth. So the object is to suck more air out than you're spraying in. So you create a negative pressure, forcing the air to go around the operator as you're spraying into the booth so none of the spray comes out, or very little comes out. Now, you're still going to have to wear a respirator. I always do. And it's quite efficient. The respirator doesn't hardly get any. In fact, I haven't got any noticeable particles on the respirator. This booth is very clean, so I really like the design of it. There are a couple more things that I added to the booth. And this holds my glaze. There and there. But these are shelves. My glazes are in pop bottles. So I put the glaze in the pop bottle. I've fired up a marble that's down in the bottom, a little clay marble that rattles around. That's what keeps my glaze mixed up. I shake it like this, and I'll have to show you my spray gun system. It's very simple. It works very well. Never clogs up. Anyway, I'll go back and we'll talk a little bit more about the booth here. So one of the things that I did is I put some clear plastic over the bucket so the glaze that falls from the top will not go in the sump area. So all the water that going into the sump area has to enter through the holes. And hopefully some of the glaze will have settled out. In fact, most of the glaze settles out before it gets up 4 inches high and into the center of that bucket. So I've just got my garden hose and I'm filling it up right now. And I'm just going to watch that the water level comes up just above the holes. The bucket was floating, so I had to put some water in it. Now it's getting up to the holes. This is kind of an important point to get the cord out of the, so you don't have to drill a hole through the, I just made a notch on the bottom of the door, and so that's for the sump pump. The sump pump cord comes out of there, so I can still close the door, and there is the cord. It's coming out